Hey guys, Huzzy here bringing you another video. Now this is a quick explanation before we get into it that is just basically saying that this is AbsoluteZero versus AbsoluteZero Ice. They are a sister to us, they are, in the same organization, and I thought I'd quickly explain that if you're a bit confused. Also, because I get these videos from the stream VOD that is, hosted on the day of the tournament, there is nothing I can do about one, audio quality, and two, if there's any freezing that happens during the game. There is freezing that happens during team fight or certain team fights in this game, and I apologize for that. It's not a lot of it. There are certain team fights that it does go really bad, but the majority of the game is fine. And the audio, I think, stays correct, although, it could be a bit better quality, but there's nothing I can do. But I thought I'd just give you a little bit of heads up, and right now there's an annotation if you want to skip the champion select and go straight into the game. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
This game is going to be between AbsoluteZero and AbsoluteZero Ice. So in a way, this is Big Brother versus Little Brother, which is going to be an interesting matchup. My name is Switty, and I am joined today by my fellow co-caster, Goose the Grey. How are you, Goose?
I cannot complain whatsoever. After all, I'm sitting here and allowed to spectate Azo versus Azo, the match of the century.
Indeed, we're now just getting into the picks and bans here, just waiting to see what they'll pull out here. Of course, our last game on the stream was Reaper City versus Nocturna Rainbow, and Nocturna Rainbow absolutely dominated that game, and we're already starting to see similar bans. Jax is going to be the first one out the gate for the blue side.
Well, I mean, Jax in that top lane, we went over it last time, is just a terror that nobody really wants to deal with because he's really hard to keep down. Lee Sin going to be the next ban here. We saw him in the last one. Not too much effect, but in the right hands, Lee Sin can be terrifying.
Yeah, so I suspect that will be a target ban from AbsoluteZero Ice to AbsoluteZero, and that's just going to get really confusing. I'm going to say it now. I expect a lot of tongue twisters to come out. Obviously, the next set of bans is going to be Fizz and Brom, so very strong mid laner and strong support band out now with Thresh.
I mean, there are still a couple of very strong supports open, but two support bans already. I mean, these two teams know one another, so they kind of have an idea of what the other team wants to play, but with Ziggs being banned out, Leona is one of the supports left open, and they've picked that one right away.
Indeed, so Leona is going to be that very strong support play, going to dive in. It's going to be a combination of Brom and Thresh, of course, just lacking the disengage, so we'll see what AbsoluteZero can play there with the team fights coming up here. Waiting now to see what Team Ice are going to take here. Locking in Shyvana and Riggo now, just debating what champion to pick up next, and it's hovering over Pantheon, which is going to be an interesting pick, and it's locked in.
Okay, so Shyvana Pantheon, that is very interesting, let's say it that way, because it's very aggressive. So Pantheon is a really good snowballer, and Kayle on the other side, we saw Kayle banned last time. Wow, these picks are coming out really, really fast. She's going to be devastating for the entirety of the game. Once she gets to the late game, she will just shred anything that stands in her way, and combined with the Leona, that's a very, very scary combination. Lulu, combined with the intervention, those two together can keep someone alive for ages. Now, the support pick for Azo I will probably be that Morgana, simply because you need something to go against all this stunnage.
Yeah, definitely going to need something for a disengage. Hovering over the ADC right now, debating Lucian. It looks like it's going to be a Caitlyn pickup here, but they're also hovering over Mordekaiser, which is very unusual because I've never seen a Mordekaiser in tournament play. I've seen him a lot in solo queue and ARAMs what have you, but I've never seen him at this kind of level, and it is going to be a quick swap round to Nidalee.
Yeah, Mordekaiser, if we had seen a Fizz picked, I wouldn't have been surprised to see Mordekaiser, because against Fizz, he does really, really well. But against someone like Kayle, I'm pretty sure that Nidalee will do much, much better. It will be a pick that makes a lot more sense. And Caitlyn, on that AD carry, she, of course, one of the longer ranged ones, will be able to stay well away from Leona. That does, of course, leave Twitch, Lucian, and a number of other AD carries still open. Buy the pick there for that jungle. Buy against Pantheon is pretty interesting because both of them have a lot of early power, and both of them have very powerful level 6 ganks, so it's really going to come down to which one of these two manages to be in the right spot at the right time.
Yep, and the last pick for Azo I is going to be Karma, so that's going to be supporting Caitlyn in the bot lane, so that's going to be a very interesting matchup. You're going to see the old classic Vayne Leona versus the Karma Caitlyn. So it'd be range versus dive, and I think that bot lane is actually going to go for the early part into Caitlyn for Vayne's sort of lack of damage in the early part. But once it scales onto late game, if Vayne is left along for too long, she will start to rack up really quick and scales really well into that point.
Exactly, but it's going to be very hard in that lane phase to really make it count because the range is very, very short as well. Trying to fight with no range against someone like Caitlyn Karma is immensely difficult. And the Leona will not really be able to do much on top of that, because if Leona gets poked down early on, she's not in a position to really go aggressive and jump onto the enemies either. So it's all going to come down to the first couple of minutes, at least as far as the lane is concerned. As you already said, towards the late game, it's going to get very, very dangerous, especially because the rest of Azo has a very good team to protect them. With that Lulu Wild growth, the Vi peel, Leona peel, and then the Kayle intervention, Vayne can survive practically anything. And the only saving grace here will be that Pantheon is able to jump right onto Vayne, Shyvana can do the same, and Nidalee, if she gets lucky, hits a good spear. And then they need to take out Vayne right away before she can get saved by the rest of her team.
Yeah, but even if we look at it from a lane phase perspective, Lulu versus Nidalee in the mid lane often tends to go towards Nidalee post around about level 6, because her spears at that point actually start doing damage because she's now starting to pick up AP items compared to Lulu. So we could see a repeat of last game where Lulu gets shut down entirely, gets denied gold and XP to keep up.
I'd be very surprised to see that, just because Nidalee has minimal wave clear before level 6. She has a really, she uses her glitter lances effectively, can just push that lane pretty damn hard. And it's going to be, because of that, very difficult for Nidalee to try and shut down Lulu at all. Because, yes, Pantheon is a strong early ganker with that stun, but he has to get into range. And for that, often you have to use a flash or rely on your lane partner to provide some sort of crowd control to start off the gank. Nidalee cannot offer this. And on the other side, Lulu is very good at escaping ganks with that Whimsy, with a polymorph. So it's going to be very, very hard for Nidalee to actually stay even in that lane. I think she's definitely going to lose that one, at least until level 6. The question is, how much more damage can Lulu do in that time? Because if she manages to push out mid lane the entire time, she can then go roam.
Yeah, so taking our focus off the mid lane for a second, let's go up to the top lane, a lane that in our last game with RCP versus NR really just did nothing for the most part and barely saw any action at all. So we're going to have what looks like it's going to be Kayle versus Shyvana. That to me is ringing like level 6 Kayle is going to absolutely beat the living daylights out of Shyvana, but only if Pantheon or Vi aren't around to lane ganks. If Vi comes in, it's going to be much better for Kayle, but if Pantheon focuses more top lane, Kayle's actually going to struggle a little bit to the likes of Pantheon.
Exactly, so that's definitely going to be an interesting lane to watch, but of course, we just focused on Lulu versus that Nidalee. It may just switch around. It may just be that Lulu in the top lane up against Shyvana, and that's also a lane that's very difficult to call, because it really comes down to the way Shyvana plays it. In that situation, Shyvana cannot be afraid. She has to be aggressive the entire time, or she will fall behind, because she cannot be scared of that Glitter Lance poke, and instead, she needs to make it count whenever she does eat a Glitter Lance to return at least as much damage, or get a nice amount of CS. And I'm pretty sure that lane, if it is that matchup, would also be pushed underneath Shyvana's tower. So that's something that AbsoluteZero do have going for themselves here. It's impossible for AbsoluteZero Ice to call right now what the lane matchup is actually going to be, and that makes it hard to pick the according runes and masteries.
Indeed. So, of course, another option is we could see a complete total lane swap, so we could see 2v1. So, in that scenario, who do you think would be in those positions? You know, who would Azo Ice put up against Caitlyn and Karma? Who would they want those two champions to go into a fight with? Because it would, to me, it seemed a better fight to go in against the likes of Kayle over Lulu.
Definitely. I think Lulu is a much better 1v2 laner than Kayle, but in the end, I'm not even too sure if they want to lane swap. I mean, most of the time, lane swaps are initiated by the blue team, and if the red team answers, it's most of the time because they're guessing that the enemy team would do this, simply because of the way the map is laid out. And because of that, I don't think we'll see it. Vayne Leona is not someone that wants a lane swap, because Leona's basically useless under an enemy tower, and Vayne's range is very short, which makes it dangerous to try and poke that tower down, especially against someone like that Shyvana, that when she gets around level 3-ish, and then Pantheon comes in for a gank, those two could actually take out a target really, really quickly, simply because of a level advantage and that early Pantheon burst damage. So I think there's a very good chance that we will just see the standard lane matchups, and that's going to rely completely on Karma and Caitlyn staying far back, poking, and then not getting caught by those Zenith Blades.
Indeed, so now we're into the game now. So grab your drink, grab your popcorn. This is guaranteed to be a good one as we kick off our second match of the day with AbsoluteZero versus AbsoluteZero Ice.
I'm really interested to see how this will turn out. Just where the people will go, and these two teams are sister teams, so they know, at least to a certain extent, what the other one's strategies are, and that just makes it all the more interesting.
Indeed. Of course, remember, the winner of this will get tickets to go see the LCS live at the Wembley Arena, not Wimbledon like I was saying earlier. That would be that would be really nice to watch the LCS in the middle of a tennis court.
Would be kind of interesting. Anyway, as it stands, we have both of these teams with fairly aggressive matchups. Nice word from Leona there, down there in that Tribush area, so they're definitely going to see once AbsoluteZero Ice starts invading. And on the other hand, AbsoluteZero, the normal AbsoluteZero team, can invade completely undetected on that top half. Might just be a buff trade then.
Yeah, it looks like it's just going to be a straight up average everyday buff trade. It's just going to be a swap for red, and then they'll go back and do their own blues and then carry on from there. So, speaking of the junglers, where do you think Vi and Pantheon will make their appearance first? Do you think Vi will go to top lane, or do you think she'll head down to the mid lane to give whoever's there a bit of an assist?
I've been called out, by the way. They've just made me be completely wrong, because it is going to be Vayne and Lulu staying towards that top lane. Vayne and Leona, I meant. They might be going for mid. But right now, first, we have the invade from AbsoluteZero Ice. They waited until that ward was gone, so they're still undetected on this one. The Kayle is all alone in the bot lane, so there will definitely be a lane swap here.
And you doubted my powers of perception to pick up
Of course I did.
a lane swap.
It's my job to be wrong. So, I'll go with that. I'll accept it.
Anyway, so now we're just kicking off this game here. Of course, we have got that lane swap. We've got blue team sending up Vayne and Leona up to the top side, and we've got red team sending Caitlyn and Karma down to the bottom lane, facing up against Kayle, which is definitely going to be into their favour. So I wouldn't be surprised if Pantheon came around and just shut down Kayle, because our late game Kayle, especially in the current meta, is incredibly strong.
Yeah, but I think, honestly, this lane swap works out for AbsoluteZero Ice. Unless Shyvana gets really, really careless up in that top lane and keeps getting dived, which is a possibility with Leona, Vayne, Vi. The three of them would have a nice amount of crowd control, and if Lulu managed to roam up there as well, that while growth later on post level 6 would really help that dive as well. But it's not going to be easy, and we see a lot of early trades over there in that mid lane. Nidalee already going very low, but at least still has some mana. Lulu's used all hers up, so for the next couple seconds that will probably calm down a little bit. Shyvana now teleported, and Vi is around. It could be the early dive.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen here. Vi is, as I say, hovering around. There is no ward, so Shyvana has no idea that Vi is just waiting off in that top Tribush, waiting for the opportunity to dive on in here. She is coming for the roam, has got the Vault Breaker ready. Leona goes in with the Zenith Blade, gets the stun. Very, very quick to follow. He's already got Silver Bolts procced, but can't quite close the distance. And Shyvana is forced right away from her tower. And already, AbsoluteZero are starting to chip away at this top lane tower in no time at all.
That was a nice attempt at a dive. Nice stun from Pantheon to get out of danger there. It is now sitting under the tower together with Shyvana, and the two of them should be able to defend that tower, at least for a little bit. The flash forced out of Shyvana, of course, during that dive earlier on. Very nicely done by Shyvana. Should just sit back and wait, and then flash at the last possible moment to keep herself safe. So very nicely done on that front, but of course it means this top lane is in some major trouble.
Yeah, so with top lane looking like it's just going to simmer for a little bit. It's not going to go back onto the boil just yet, although Vi, Vayne and Leona are all still hovering around there looking to gain a little bit of early tower advantage, something we haven't seen in high level play for a while. The stun does come out from Pantheon and actually forces everyone to back off there. So whilst we look down across the other lanes, that mid lane at the minute between Lulu and Nidalee is going exactly as you said. Nidalee is on the back foot for the most part, but she's doing very well to keep her CS alive versus Lulu.
She's just sitting under the tower, which is where Nidalee is able to farm, but not that well. So far, she's only 5 behind that. It's really nice, but she's out of mana completely. And that just gives Lulu that edge that she needs to keep, you know, extending that CS advantage over the next couple of minutes. You see both of these junglers still in the top lane. It's really been the focus here for this early part of the game, but it also means that Shyvana's not getting any of these CS, or not many at least. Kayle is actually ahead just by sitting under the tower and staying careful.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see though where things go. Pantheon is going to initiate the top lane fight, gets the stun onto Vayne, but Leona's very quick to respond, goes in with the Zenith Blade, forces it down low, and it's going to be Vayne popping it with the flash and using the Silver Bolt proc to get first blood. Shyvana is also incredibly low. Vi and Leona hover around, and it gives a double kill over onto Vi on Vayne. Very nicely played there by AbsoluteZero.
And just incredibly patient. That was just, they waited for the right second, then went for the correct fight, and in the end, it did take Vayne's flash. That was very nicely done to still get that condemn onto the wall, then flash after him, get that last hit in to try and pick up that kill. It's just a matter of, you know, being overconfident on the other side, and they just used the heal. Not quite sure why. I think that was a tower hit that was still coming at Vayne, so a little bit careless. Oh, and we see the kill in mid.
Yeah, very nicely played by Lulu there, using the Glitter Lance to actually get Nidalee actually tried to get away from the tower. So no level 6 yet for Nidalee, though she will come back in with the Chalice of Harmony, and the first tower already goes over to AbsoluteZero in 6 minutes.
At least there's a response on the bottom half of the map to go for that dragon. You know, after Pantheon died, he said, okay, that's that. With top, I'll go straight down the bottom half, and they trade the dragon for that tower. Still, with the 3 kills this early on in the game, it's a 1,200 gold advantage over to AbsoluteZero. And of course, with a 2-0-0 Vayne at this point already, yes, she's 10 CS behind her opposition, but the Bilgewater Cutlass and Boots and a Dagger already completed means that that lane right now will be very, very hard for AbsoluteZero Ice to still win for themselves.
Yep, and already AbsoluteZero though rotate around very nicely. They bring Vayne and Leona down to this bot lane to defend the tower before it falls. It's already at 300 HP, and even bring Vayne as well. And Leona goes straight on in with the Zenith Blade, goes in aggressive against Scott's HD, forces him right out of lane. Swiftly though on Pantheon, straight away with the response, is just hanging around, making sure that neither Vayne, Leona or Vi can start scaling up rapidly, quickly after taking down that top lane tower.
Now the lanes have normalized. Of course, the top tower going down this early does mean that Shyvana can freeze comfortably for a while. She's just going to sit back. Actually, nope, she's not freezing. Calling me wrong yet again and pushing that lane at least a little bit. That's going to allow Kayle to stay even and farm. She's already got that stinger completed, so that's a nice amount of attack speed and a little bit of cooldown reduction. And she's just going for the buff invade. Kayle can actually afford to help her team deny the jungle from Pantheon, and that's just going to slow him down even more. He's not been able to pick up a kill. He sat around in the top lane for a very long time, and in the end even paid for it with his life. So that's really unfortunate on his end, and just a tiny bit too slow to see that his red buff gets stolen away.
Yeah, so he's not going to have the timer on that, which is, as I say, a little bit unfortunate. So he's going to be denied some gold, he's going to be denied XP, especially with the changes in the jungle, meaning that Pantheon, of course, now can't scale up back to the same point as everyone else. And now AbsoluteZero Ice, very quick to respond here and take out their own bot lane tower and just even up the turret score and make their life a little bit easier against their sister team.
For right now, still fairly even, just 700 gold. I mean, 3 kills do matter, but the question is, what do they do with those? So Vayne really needs to make it count. She got that gold bonus, because right now Caitlyn with that BF sword would do quite a nice amount of damage as well. It would all come down to Vayne and Leona outplaying that Caitlyn. That's not that easy to do. This level of play, Wigo is not one of the worst AD carries, so I'm pretty confident in his ability to try and lay down a lot of damage, but the problem is Caitlyn would not be suited to repeated engages due to not having a lot of sustain. Only that health potion and that Doran's Blade. Here comes the gank.
Yep, the gank comes in. Vi very nicely comes in with the Assault and Basher combined with the Solar Flow of the Under. Deletes Caitlyn out of the fight. Now Scott's HD is in some serious trouble. He's already down to half health and is forced right back under tower. And a very nice play here from AbsoluteZero, but willing to overextend. Just let the kill go, let the pressure hold on, and it can easily take out this bottom lane tower in no time at all.
That was a huge play with that Solar Flare coming out, and then the flash engage with that Assault and Battery out of Vi. It was pretty much insane. There was very, very, very little warning that that was going to happen, and it just left AbsoluteZero Ice with no chance to respond whatsoever, and AbsoluteZero Blue Team manages to pick up another kill for themselves and a tower. So right now 2-1 in towers, expanding the gold lead to almost 2,000 at this point.
Yeah, getting a very nice lead on their little sisters. Of course, looking at the items as well, we can see that Vi is very unwilling to complete her build yet to the Spirit of the Elder Lizard, whereas Pantheon's already completed his, despite the fact that Vi's had 3 assists and not much else, and Pantheon's just only ahead a little bit in CS with the 1 death. Do you think that's going to benefit him in any way?
I mean, he needs damage, but the problem is where is he going to gank right now? Because Caitlyn did pick up the Vam Scepter, but she's definitely going to be behind that Vayne that just finished off her Blade of the Ruined King. Caitlyn has to be very, very careful, but her lane is pushing. Mid lane would really be the place for him to gank, but at this point, half-past Thor will already be so strong that it's going to be very, very hard to successfully gank him, and we see the bot lane from AbsoluteZero Ice try to come around. All they managed to do is push him a little off to the side. Here comes Vi and the rest of the team.
Yeah, we could see a nice big fight break out here in the mid lane, although it's not going to be an all 5v5. We have got Huz on Kale pushing up in the top lane. It's now starting to rotate round, so this could be what AbsoluteZero are waiting for. Wait for Ice to come in onto their terms and then start a fight that they want. Looks like it's gonna be absolutely nothing here, just a general pokery back and forth and literally just missing with the spear there.
And they didn't quite have the Assault and Battery back up yet. Now it just came up, so I expect that if AbsoluteZero Ice just take that tiny step too far out, it could mean their death. Vi just went back, Vayne is down in the bottom lane. But we can see, even 3 versus 5, this mid lane so far has been defended valiantly. And with that damage coming out from those Glitter Lances, it keeps Karma and Pantheon very, very low. It keeps the entire team of AbsoluteZero Ice at a point where they cannot afford to go in for the engage. And that's just going to fend off their attempted 5-man push in the mid lane, and another big win for AbsoluteZero.
Indeed, so I was waiting to see here. Scott's HD goes very low. Those Glitter Lances now really starting to hurt. Karma really can't afford to hang around much longer. And now all 5 members of AbsoluteZero instead going for the fight. They avoid the end of fire, but it's going to be Veil that goes in deep against Scott. And Ravenhurst does the same, tries to go against AbsoluteZero, but manages to survive. No, does go down eventually to the burn of Vi, but also Pantheon goes down. So a jungler for jungler trade there on each side.
I don't like the timing of that engage from AbsoluteZero at all. They could have just waited for about 7 more hits on that tower. It wasn't going to take long, and then they could have dove in that without the tower actually being alive. And that turret did so much damage, and Shyvana did a very good job zoning the rest of AbsoluteZero's team. It left Vi all alone in the back line of AbsoluteZero Ice, and they were able to just sit there and pick her off at the end. 1-for-1 trade, but it could have ended a lot worse for AbsoluteZero Ice, and they kept the tower alive. So definitely a misplay here from the blue side of AbsoluteZero.
Yeah, so now we just have to hang on and see what AbsoluteZero can now pull to regain some momentum from that last fight. They have got some minions hanging around this way, but it's not going to be enough. Caitlyn will be able to mop that up in no time at all. 3 quick hits and they're all gone. Dragon is back up though, so it could be a possible objective here for AbsoluteZero and keep their gold lead very, very strong. As the old saying goes, once you're ahead, get more ahead. But do you think that'll be a possibility in the future for AbsoluteZero, or do you think they'll just go ahead and try and push down onto that already weakened mid lane tower?
I'd expect them to go for it, and if need be, they can always rotate around to mid and basically just shove down. If the minions don't already finish it off very, very soon here. It's only got 200 HP left, so I mean that's only going to take 1 or 2 auto hits. It's practically a dead tower, and they can just take that whenever they want to. But in the meantime, Dragon, as you said, is on the table. Neither team making that move yet. Now with Lulu having gotten the blue buff, it's about time that AbsoluteZero actually go over there. They're now solidified their vision advantage. With those 2 pink wards, they can see practically everything. They do already have 2 sweepers as well. Not only Vi, but Leona as well. And even though nice spears landing here onto Vayne, it will take quite a few more to really decide that fight for them. Ace in the hole. Being blocked here by Vi. They're trying to put on all the damage.
It's not going to help though, as Vi goes straight on and taking out Grandstock and completely zoning out Nidalee, and she will go down. Pantheon also goes down. Ravenhurst comes diving in that dragon form, trying to lay down some damage, but unfortunately gets caught in between 4 members of AbsoluteZero and gets annihilated. Wigo, the only one left alive from this initial fight, goes down, gives Vayne a double kill, so now Vayne is 4-0, and AbsoluteZero is going to happily take this dragon with no contest whatsoever.
That was an awful fight here for AbsoluteZero Ice. They tried to poke around the sides, lay down as much damage as possible, but Caitlyn was just too far away. Shyvana took too long to teleport, and by that time, Nidalee was already dead. And from then on, it was basically just cleanup, because then they had the manpower advantage, and they weren't poked down low enough by that Nidalee so that AbsoluteZero Ice could really try and pick anyone off. In the end, it was a 4-for-0 exchange. That leaves us at 9-1 on the kills, a whole 7,000, almost 7,000 gold. No, almost 6,000 gold for AbsoluteZero, and 3-1 in towers, plus that dragon that they just got. So really a huge advantage at this point. And a 4-0-3 Vayne, 2-1-5 Vi, 0-0-4 Kale. This is not something I would want to fight against.
No, I have to agree with you, especially that kind of finishing off the Nash's Tooth. I'd expect a next item will either be Rabadon's Death Cap or the Runan's Hurricane, which is something that's come back into form lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. So now all that's left really is for AbsoluteZero Ice to find an advantage somewhere, if they can get anything at all, with everyone so far behind in terms of CS, and they've lost every single fight they come up against. I suppose all they can really do is start pushing the lanes they can and just back away whenever a fight breaks out. Although we do see one come out here in the mid lane. Wigo takes a ton of damage, gets absolutely hammered, and even Pantheon decides against using the Grand Skyfall, and now Grandstark being chased out in that Cougar form isn't going to get very far, gets caught out by Kale with all that attack speed, and the slow will absolutely get rid of Nidalee as well. So that's 2 members of AbsoluteZero Ice gone in only just a few short seconds.
I mean, that's going to be Baron. This is just perfect play from AbsoluteZero. They know they have the advantage, and even though Vi's assault battery wasn't back up yet, Leona had her ultimate back, and that was just enough to take out Caitlyn right off the bat. This Baron is still pretty risky, but Shyvana doesn't have a dragon form to try and come over there, and the jungler is only one that's slow. Pantheon is there, and he gets a smite.
Very nicely smite steal there, and Karma even gets a shutdown as well onto Leona, but Pantheon does pay the price for it, so the only members now with the Baron buff will be Karma and Caitlyn, but it doesn't really matter. Vi will just carry on the chase, goes in with the assault and battery, and Vayne, Lulu, proving a very deadly combination, as they always have been, manages to take out Karma. So now Caitlyn is the only player left on AbsoluteZero Ice with the Baron buff.
But it's not even just about who has a Baron buff on the side of AbsoluteZero Ice. It's more about the fact that AbsoluteZero themselves do not have it, and do not have that massive golden experience boost. That was a huge steal, and really not something that should have been allowed to happen. AbsoluteZero messed up on that one, let Pantheon slip through, and then he just went over the wall with his flash and managed to steal away the Baron. They cannot afford to have that happen once more. Typical Baron throw, so for now that puts a little bit of a pause timer on this game, as it does give AbsoluteZero Ice a nice amount of experience and gold.
Yes, I know, as everything's calmed down a little bit, might as well look down at the items. Already we can see that Kale's coming back into the map with the recover bow. That's definitely going to be the Renowned Hurricane without a shadow of a doubt. Vi has gone slightly tanky. He's already picked up a Giant's Belt along with the Brutalizer, so looking towards either the Black Cleaver in the near future or possibly even a Sunfire Cape. And Vayne has already finished off her Phantom Dance, so Vayne has already hit her late game point, and we're only 18-19 minutes in.
That's what happens when you get 5 kills and 4 assists on someone like Vayne. It's really extremely devastating at this point, and I'm not sure how much defense will be able to stand against that. But that mid lane tower now going to die despite the teleport from Huz. The question is, can they get kills after this?
Yes, they will. They will get Pantheon in no time at all, and it is going to be a runaway tactic coming out from Grandstock on Nidalee, and Half Past Thought very nicely came in from the side and landed a couple of good lances, but no one there to follow it up would mean that Nidalee gets away.
So a tire for a kill so far, definitely that would be a win in the book for AbsoluteZero.
Oh, there we go, the solar flare comes out from Leona, goes in straight onto Nidalee and peels her right out of the fight. So a very nice all in there, but sadly it's only for one target. Scotch HD though does go down, the good lance will pick up the kill. Ravenhurst call out against all, gets caught in the condemn. The Grand Skyfall comes through. Is it going to land? Yes it does. Lands right on top of Half Past Thor, but it doesn't really matter. Both go down, Ravenhurst as well, so that was a near complete ace for AbsoluteZero.
4-for-2 exchange at the end of the day. Vi narrowly escaped that with a beautiful intervention. Really down to about 30 HP, I think, at the time that she managed to get out of there. Once again, very, very aggressive here from AbsoluteZero instead of just slowly shoving down the tower with the advantage they have. They're bloodthirsty, and most of the time it works out as well. They've given up 2 kills this time, but on the other hand, they've gotten even more gold onto the important targets. Lulu, 3-1-11, almost has that death cap completed, and Vayne is a terror anyway. Giving her a little bit more gold will hardly make a difference at this point. So, the towers remain standing, yes, but again, a fight won by AbsoluteZero despite being very, very far forward and pretty much being overextended for that fight.
Yes, I know. All it means, again, is for AbsoluteZero Ice to try and find somewhere to dig their heels in. They've only got 2 towers. They've only got the mid lane and the bot lane. They haven't had much, they've only got 1 dragon so far and a baron. But AbsoluteZero will be on ball for the next baron and the next dragon for sure. And they've already started to stack up around here and definitely are looking to keep any more map objectives slipping to AbsoluteZero Ice.
So right now, it's definitely a dangerous time in this game, because neither team is allowed to make that slip up. Of course, AbsoluteZero Ice has to try and make something happen. They're going to lose this next dragon as well, and there's nothing they can do about that one. They need to pick a fight somewhere. But AbsoluteZero Ice are so far behind at this point, they can't really do it.
No, they will need to find out at some point. Of course, they could try and pick a fight. They can wait for someone to be out all by the lonesome. I mean, Cal's been quite happy to go out and split push, and if need be, they can send all 5 members to go and take down a Cal, but then that'll be all 5 members for just 1 enemy champion, which really doesn't seem like it would be worth it. Although, very nicely, Shyvana right off from the top lane, split pushes and takes out the top lane out of turret, now brings the turret score back even, but unfortunately, AbsoluteZero do come in and already punch this mid lane inner tower down to half health.
The towers at this point go down so quickly from that Kale and the Vayne. The 2 of them together can just demolish something like that very, very quickly. And on the other side, I don't think AbsoluteZero Ice has got any chance of properly defending this. They need those Nidalee spears to land, but despite the short cooldown, I don't think there will be enough of them hitting their mark to try and fend off this continued assault from someone like, you know, Kale, Vayne, Lulu. They have so much poke of their own that it's going to be really, really hard.
Yeah, so now it comes down to, can Grandstock land those spears? If need be, even change his tactic a little bit and come in from behind. Let AbsoluteZero push forward, and then he'll definitely be able to land a spear. Gets Veil right in the middle there with the spear, goes straight in on top. As the fight splits up here, Ravenhurst goes into the backline, try and keep AbsoluteZero at bay. Unfortunately, gets not much out of it other than his own death. We do see Veil gets taken out though, but he does take out Grandstock for his trouble. And Fi also nearly got, no, Fi does finally go down, gets hit by that inner firebolt from Karma. So very nicely played here by AbsoluteZero Ice, playing a little bit safer in the team fight, has certainly rendered them better results than before.
Yes, they lost 3 members and only got 2 of the opposition, but they almost managed to defend that middle tower. It was as good as an engage as they'll really get, because Vi went very far forward, stood in that trap and got hit by the tower for quite a while before even being able to use that assault and battery. So I don't think it's going to get any better than this for AbsoluteZero Ice in the remainder of this game, but in the end they still lost it, and they still lost the tower now as well. They're just that far behind that the opposition can just brute force their way. Yes, they got a nice shutdown on that Vayne, but I don't think those 500 gold will be enough to turn this around anymore.
No, I'd have to agree with you there. Everyone knows now starting to mingle around the Dragon Pit, obviously waiting for the respawn time, or at least just try and gain some map control, map vision back. As we can see, AbsoluteZero have got a ward out in the jungle. They've got a pink ward out by the Baron Pit, who's sitting there chilling, relaxing, enjoying the match that is to come here, as AbsoluteZero Ice is really kind of getting beaten into the ground here. Vi goes straight in again with another Vault Breaker, but the rest of his team aren't around to help. Gets taken down to 25% health, as Scotch HD gets taken out by Huz on that KO. Attack speed AP KO is certainly starting to prove a little bit strong. A very nice Vault Breaker through the wall takes out Pantheon with a nice little blind side. So AbsoluteZero really now starting to push home their advantage.
And this is devastating. When, you know, you get caught out that easily, that was Pantheon. He's supposed to be one of 2 tanky members on the side of AbsoluteZero Ice. There's only Pantheon and Shyvana, and he just gets taken out like it's nothing now the next fight.
Yep, Shyvana goes straight in. The ace in the hole comes out. It looks like it was going to go on to Huz, but it got absorbed by Vale instead. So a very nice play there to keep Vale alive and everybody else, and managed to take out Ravenhurst for his trouble. But they still keep this inhibitor tower alive, but I don't think it's going to last for much longer.
For now, no minions yet on the side of AbsoluteZero. They're about to come in there though. Shyvana still has an entire 13 seconds remaining until she can be back. But the health bars are going pretty low. They get the tower.
Yep, they get the tower, and Scotch HD goes down as well. Vayne picking up a couple of kills per time, gets the inhib tower, and Karma, and even forces Pantheon out right back to her fountain as well to regen and heal back up. But Wigo goes in super deep, might pay for it, gets forced away, and Grandstark as well, trying to keep up using the Cougar Pounce in combination with the Javelins, but I don't think she will land anything. Grandstark before coming through, is he going to catch anyone? Yes, he goes straight onto half past wall, gets the kill, goes down for his trouble, and Huz and Vayne goes down as well, so Ravenhurst picks up a kill from himself, and slowly but surely, AbsoluteZero Ice are bringing themselves back into this game.
That was a very nice fight after they lost the inhibitor at least. The health bars on the side of AbsoluteZero were so low that they didn't really have much of a chance. They decided to try and fight, which did work out kind of well. They still got 2 kills out of that. They killed Pantheon and Nidalee. In the end though, went down. This is going to be now the middle inner turret going down over to AbsoluteZero Ice. Maybe. Actually, Leona goes in onto Caitlyn. Vi's already on the backside of this.
Yep, and the fight continues. The assault and barrier comes through, and Wigo has to flash a 90 caliber net as a disengage. And AbsoluteZero do a very nice job of holding their tower. And they even start pinging as well. Kayle comes in for a teleport. Does get spotted out by Swiftly from Pantheon, but it doesn't really matter because she has got the intervention, does pop it and keeps herself alive for a little bit longer. Even pops Zhonya's to keep up her survivability, but does go down to the spear, or I think even the pounce claw of Nidalee there. And now Renette movement also gets caught out. Nowly avoids the javelin. The chase continues though for AbsoluteZero Ice, trying to push down AbsoluteZero and just keep them out of their side of the map.
The throws were almost there. I mean, Kayle was very far in the back line, and the stun from Pantheon was huge. It let the javelin hit right on target, and Kayle was down to 20% HP before even doing anything. Now, the problem is that Pantheon gets caught again. It is not something that's allowed to happen, but it's happened several times in a row, and every single time it gives a huge advantage over to AbsoluteZero. Now with the enemy jungler down, they're just going to walk right over to Baron and probably take that one down, or at least secure the entire advantage around that side and then be able to trap. With that inhibitor down in mid lane, they've already got the complete vision control on this map.
And they've got plenty of water, and they even find Grandstark lurking around, and Half Past All really starts to lay down the hurt, forces her down right down to 25% HP, and 5 picks that one up. Meanwhile, in the backside, Ravenhurst came in with Dragonform and no, sorry, didn't come in with Dragonform, just walked in with Burnout on and picks up the Lulu kill. And 4 members now of AbsoluteZero will happily start taking down this dragon. There is very little ward coverage. There is 1 ward, sorry, for AbsoluteZero Ice. They do see it, they do go in, but it is going to be AbsoluteZero who pick it up, and the fight will now be a clean-up. Ravenhurst goes down, followed swiftly by Scott's HD, Wigo being the third and giving a double kill over onto Huz on Kayle, and Pantheon is going to be forced right out and is going to cower right next to his Nexus and cry little tears.
I do not like the fact that Scott's HD and Wigo stood around there. Caitlyn and Karma could not do anything for that fight, and it was only Shyvana trying to steal away that Baron this time around against the Smite. It didn't quite work out, and the Super Minions alone took down that first Nexus Tower. Caitlyn and Karma should have been back there defending it, but I guess they called it all or nothing, and at this point, it will be the game. 30 minutes and 32 kills to 11, with 12,000 gold in their favor. AbsoluteZero decidedly take the win here against their sister team.